Thank you, Tony. Let's introduce these luminaries of ICA one by one. So the first one I'm going to call up is Roland Naftool.
As always.
Roland served as president from 1984 to 1989. Welcome, Roland. Sadohara Fujita, 1991 to 1995. Sada-san. Paolo Valentini, president from 1995 to 1999.
No, I'm going over
Welcome, Paolo. Israel Eliezeri, president of ICA from 1999 to 2003. Benjamin Hackman, BJ, president from 2013 to 2017. ICA has a history of some 35 years, and these gentlemen here served as president
and Colosseum.
for...
Sorry.
It's going to be hard to stop these guys within the allotted time, let me tell you. We're going to have a lot of fun today. So these guys served as presidents, combined 21 years of presidency of ICA. And what we hope to achieve today is learn a little from the past, look at what's happening now, and maybe get these guys' idea of what might happen in the future. And first up, Roland, and they're standing at the moment because we're actually going to have a little presentation by Roland. He insisted on bringing some of the history of ICA to the fore. So, Roland, please come forward.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gems, because we have ladies here and the rest of us are gems.
How long will we give him?
I'm going to try, as best as I can, to give you a little historical background on how this association got started. And please forgive me, this is the first power presentation I've ever done in my life. And at my age, we didn't have any power presentations, we didn't even have radios or telephones. So, forgive me, I'll try to do my best. The first slide you see here is regarding our colorful journey, and it's always been a colorful journey. Our trade is extremely colorful. We have so many beautiful stones, and more often than not, we don't even appreciate them as much as we should. Nonetheless, I'm going to bring you or take you from Tucson, which would be our first stop, to Colombo. And the reason why I selected Colombo is because that's when my presidency ended, and I just wanted to cover that part of our history. Okay, now, see? I told you. Oh, here we go. First, this gentleman you see here, his name is Moshe Persky. He was the executive director of the International Precious Stone Congress. He came to see me in Tucson, Arizona, during the American Gem Trade Association show. At the time, I was president of AGTA. And he came to ask if I would be willing to come to a Congress that Israel was holding that year in 1983 to cover the gemstones and what we could do to benefit with our gemstone industry. Keeping in mind that in 1983, the gemstone industry was not at all what it is today. It was sort of ancient, if I may say so. In any case, I agreed to go to Israel to make a presentation, and I said that I would go and speak on international cooperation. The next slide you see is an invitation that I received a few weeks later from the chairman of the Congress, committee who invited me to come formally to address the Congress. At the Congress, as you can see, and these are old pictures, so please forgive me, but that's the best I could find. As you can see, we had a panel, and the panel was covered at the end of the Congress. And at that time, I spoke on international cooperation, and my goal was to say that there are a lot of things that we have done in our industry. We have gone through many decades and many centuries of dealing with gemstones, but we lacked a lot of communications regarding a variety of different things. For example, appraisals. Appraisals were done in those days, and unfortunately, too often to the advantage of the person who had the stone, rather to the advantage of the person who was going to be the consumer of that stone. I spoke about the lack of disclosure of treatments. I have to say that we still lack disclosure for treatments, but in those days, we didn't have any rules or regulations to deal with the disclosure of gemstone treatments. We ran into problems with synthetics. Today, we're running into problems with synthetics, but not so much with color stones, but more so with diamonds, where there's a lack of disclosure or the disclosure is not what it should be. Anyway, we covered many subjects, and we talked about many problems that we had, and we then talked about a variety of different things that related to how we could improve. Excuse me.
Are we going to make the long story short or the short story
Short.
long?
We're going to make it very short. I'm sorry. I get carried away. Okay, so we decided at the Tel Aviv Congress to have a meeting in Acapulco, Mexico. The reason for Acapulco, Mexico, it was primarily because it was a neutral place to have a meeting. At that meeting, we had a number of well-known people. Here's a photograph of the people that were at that meeting in Acapulco. In that photograph, you'll probably see my good friend Ellie. He's sitting somewhere in there. Let me have a show of hands. Was there anybody that's sitting in a room here that went to the Acapulco meeting?
That wants to be what?
Acapulco.
It's only one.
A long time ago.
Yes.
The young group.
They weren't
Okay,
born yet.
so anyway, a lot of very famous people were at that meeting. Dr. Edward Gublin, for anyone who certainly knows, Dr. Edward Gublin was there. Richard Liddicoats, from the president of the GIA, and a number of other very well-known persons were at that meeting. It's at that meeting and during the discussions at that meeting that we decided to form ICA. So this is where ICA was conceived. This is the meeting. This is part of that meeting. Then we decided that we were going to have a Congress. After that meeting, we decided we would form into an association. We had the first Congress and Idar Oberstein. The first Congress was exactly 9 months after the Congress
After the
in Israel.
presidency.
That means ICA was conceived in Israel, but it was born actually in Idar Oberstein. Of course, 7 days later we had the bris, if you know what a bris is. Everybody knows
Nobody knows. Circumcising.
circumcising. We had a circumcision 7 days later. To follow, this was the first executive committee of ICA, the first press conference of ICA. We continued on, lots of fun in Idar Oberstein. You can see Vishen, very sexy over there, and Henry Ho, and a number of other people. Next, the gala dinner. This is the first committee that organized the Congress. They worked very hard, just almost virtually, almost as hard as the Congress committee here at this Congress today. Next photo is the first office of ICA. It was in the home of Maureen Jones, who was the first executive director of ICA. Next, we had, the next Congress we had was where? Right here in 1987 at the Shangri-La Hotel. You'll notice that the Shangri-La Hotel is very bare because the hotel was just built that same year or the year before. This was the organizing committee of that Congress. Now, if you look at the organizing committee, and look at the picture on top, it looks exactly like a police lineup. Yeah, you would think they're all criminals. Some of you criminals are here, I believe, right? Could you stand up, please? Can I have the criminals that were on that picture to stand up for me, please?
Nobody here.
Okay, now we went on to the ceremonies. The Minister of Commerce was the person we welcomed at our first Congress here in Bangkok. And I want to add something about Bangkok and Thailand. The Thai people are extremely wonderful people. They somehow always smile. I don't know how they or why they always smile, but they always smile. They're always very friendly. They're always kind. And I'm being told that I have to go. Okay, I'm almost finished. Okay, the Congress continues, discussions. You will see Bill Boyajian there, very sexy again, with Paolo Valentini. Oh, I forget. Let me go back. You see that gentleman on the right over there, Anand Salwala, you all know him.
I want that photo.
I'm trying to go very fast. The gala dinner, go on, the Hilton Hotel, the next Congress. This was the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. He ultimately became President of Sri Lanka, by the way. This was the Board of Directors in Sri Lanka, and it goes on, the fun and the people at the Sri Lanka Congress. And finally, here it is. That's all, folks. And you can see here, two of our presidents, they're holding me up. There we go.
Wonderful,
is that good?
Roland.
Good. Thank you very much.
So, since Roland's time, the thing called Facebook was invented to handle all of this, Roland. You know? This is like going back to the 80s with the old family slideshow presentation. But that was wonderful. Thank you, Roland.
You're welcome.
Now, all of our esteemed presidents are probably very tired from standing for the last 10 minutes.
They should
we're
stand.
going to
It's
put
normal.
some seats down for them.
Because too young.
So, gentlemen, if you would like to take a seat.
Please. Which one?
I'll go see.
How make it, see? Is you?
No.
Gentlemen, let's carry on now from the history, and what I'd like you to reflect upon is your time as president and some of the achievements that you recall that that you're very proud of. So maybe Ellie, if I start with you, can you recall during your time, some of the proudest achievements, the major achievements? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the idea of ICA was that we'll know each other, because before ICA, we really didn't know anybody from other countries. We were concentrated each in ourselves. Now the ICA made us all friends. Now, you see, we are from so many countries, we know each other. We know each other very well. This was the main purpose of the ICA. And the ICA was actually an association to help the individuals to work, not the countries. They were organized by another system. But the cutters, the miners, the dealers, so we'll have the same language. And the language was very important. And we wanted to add into it some scientific way of speaking. And this is actually the main target, and I think is a big success of ICA. And the ICA, in fact, eventually became like a center for saving the industry from troubles, in a way. We had troubles during our time, and we know we had sometimes the Tanzanite story, we had the beryllium story, we had other stories, and ICA were inside in order to help to save the industry from troubles and to add information to everybody. And now we are all speaking the same language. This is the biggest success of our association, I think. And we should continue this direction. And we should not lose the leadership on this subject for ICA. I think this is what we should continue to work in time. There are many, many subjects that are still open and many, let's say, troubles that we have to take over, to overcome, to see what we can do. But we should not give up. We should be in the place to help each other, to inform each other, to know each other, to know the sources, to know the supplies, and to help each other to find what we can do to add to our trade. Because we are all interested in our own business, of course. Every one of us has his own business, and we want to raise our business. And the way to raise it is to know more markets, know more supplies, know the sources, and to know how to speak, and to know the language that should be used when we are trading. And this is, I think, is the biggest success of our association. We have many other subjects. Maybe later on we'll go into more details. But this is what I wanted to say as an introduction.
Thank you, Eli. Paolo, during your term as presidency, there were a lot of funny things, a lot of interesting things that happened, but maybe if we reflect on some of the achievements during your term.
We were in a transition period during my presidency. So after the building of the ICA, we had the basement made. And then what the board was thinking was the idea of promoting the association. How to promote the association is probably something that even today we have to study and think about, because it's not that easy to reach out. So far we have done a good sell-in. So among the members, I think we did well. Well, at that time, I had a great team as a board. And we could achieve quite a bit of things. First of all, I think the most important that seems to me nowadays is what we create and was the ICA Pavilion. At that time, I don't remember exactly when it was, but that is not the point. We started with the February show in Hong Kong. And that was something, I remember we had very few booths at that time. And but by the way, it was just the first brick of such a thing. And that was, in my opinion, something that has brought the association to be known to the trade, that's all.
Yeah. The ICA pavilions, of course, have grown as a result of this initiative, and you know, one of the latest pavilions was JCK in Las Vegas, and I think you were there to see the first one there. So that's you know, we're very thankful for your innovation during that time.
That was because of my board. I mean, I was just leading them. That's it. But they were following these ideas, and I think we were good. We were good.
Fujita-san, yes. How do you see, you know, during your term as presidency, the involvement of ICA during your term?
I don't know. It's a beginning as a story because I'm not in the time on it because it's my budget. So I don't know exactly how to end it. And the first step, I had no idea to be a president. But the Asian region people push me because this is the first, the president from the Asian region. then I had to take it. This is a big mistake to me. And one thing is, it's very hard to, it's language. Most of the people speak English fluently. Of course, he's a native, So every night and day and month, and whenever we are going to the board meeting or, so things like this, I have so many headache here because, because it's, I know how to speak it, but I cannot speak out because it's a typical Japanese. But gradually, maybe it's picking up and, it's making a good, communication. So this is how I joined the ICA. But look at me, because so many stress and headache and everything is a program. I never grow up. I never gained the weight. So if someone need some, skinny, be a president of the ICA. Right?
Thank you. BJ, reflecting back on your term, what are your memories and your achievements?
Okay, there were mainly a couple of things that stick out for me. First was the move of the office from Hong Kong back to New York, because I had actually also voted myself to move to Hong Kong, but unfortunately it didn't work out. We didn't have good staff. They were not listening. Sorry to say this, the executive director, everything she did, I said, this is not how we do it. She says, but this is how we did it in Japan. I said, yeah, but we're not in Japan, Yeah. So anyway, I managed to convince the board to move back to New York. And thank God now we have, of course, Gary Roskin as executive director, so we are on track, doing good job, organized. The second thing that was important to me was, and I see him sitting here, Mr. Hatta, he came to me one day, he says, I've been trying to do this, I want to create a lab, and this ICA lab he wanted. And I said, well, it's not my decision, I'll ask the board. If that's what they want, okay. So I brought it to the board. To my surprise, it got unanimous approval. And so now, thank God, he has brought in Kent Scarrett. He's an old friend of mine, and I'm hoping that the lab will be a big plus for ICA in the future. There are many, many things, but those were the main two that came to my mind.
Now, the role of presidency of ICA it's a huge task, and Paolo, you related a story to me how you were introduced once, and where was this?
It was I think in Phoenix, just the first day of the presentation of the Ruby promotion. That was an idea started to promote gemstones around the world, and due to we did promote the rubies in the United States, and the next year the same kind of promotion would have gone in another country, and in the United States should have started another stone, for instance emerald or whatsoever, and gone so on and so forth, in order to cover, let's say, the world. And this was quite ambitious, but finally. By the way, that very first day, it was almost a kind of private presentation opening, because we would have gone the next week to the Vegas show. And then Cheryl Kremko, who was our PR, when came to the moment of introducing myself to the floor, Okay, ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you the President of the United States.
That was quite a
I
promotion.
was a little bit embarrassed. Then I say, okay, let me decide. That was really funny.
The first Italian to become president of the United States of America. Yeah.
Daniel,
Could be normal for an Italian.
Daniel,
Ellie, yeah.
I just want to add something to Paulo. Paulo initiated the two ideas of the Book of Life and the Gate 2000. I was lucky to be the president at that time of the Millennium and the other time, and I inherited from him the ideas, of course. And the Book of Life, and first of all, the Gate 2000 was a very, very big movement around the world. We took it all over the world in every show, in every place, and even we've been invited by the Pope to present it to him, and he wanted to bless it forever. And we had Ashu and Sampal there with us, and Kesif. And of course, this is due to Paolo's initiation and the great art of the Italians, jewelers, that they could do it so nicely. And then, of course, was a gate to the Book of Life. Two things which actually gave ICA a big voice around the world, a very important thing. And it was a good memory for whoever was part of it at that time. And the stones were donated by ICA members. Can you imagine a Gate 2000 had 2,000 gems inside? All of them were gifted by the members, and all the colors on the wall, and all being cut the same. And the same was for the Book of Life. So ICA at that time, everybody was volunteering to help, you know, and this is thanks to Paulo, in a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. So the Gate of 2000 and the Book of Life are now residing where? Where do they reside?
Book of Life was 2000, the year 2000.
Where are they
the
now?
Book of Life. Book of Life was afterward when was invented the genes, the human genes, and they got the Nobel Prize for that year. The same thing. This was the idea of the Book of Life. The time that was the GA was discovered.
Fujita-san?
Yes, when we had the Congress in Tokyo, the end of the day, the big companies present is the Japanese. Sada-san, this is a great, Congress, CIA. See?
CIA, yeah.
This is how we are doing because as I said, this language and English, the CIA. All these CIA members.
Paolo, we had an issue in Japan once, I believe, with the food.
Oh, well, in Japan, you see, the first time I went there, I was almost impressed because, of course, through the kindness of the Japanese friends, the room was full of Japanese. I've never seen in my life so many Japanese at one time. So, and I didn't know what to say at the very first time. But secondly, during the Congress, we were sitting in a board meeting. And as you know, we all have always a little bit of a problems with the food to be served to the various members. Each one of us has his religion and problem with food, this and that. And I remember that while seated in the board meeting, all of a sudden Toshio Takada appeared, completely white, and say, "Friends, we have a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" You see, for the Jewish community, the rabbi is not rabbi enough. Now, you understand, you please try to understand that finding a rabbi in Tokyo is probably not that easy. And once you find the one, if he's not rabbi enough, according to the procedures and the prestige of the Japanese people, this is drama.
Yeah.
So thanks God, at the end the thing was solved, but we had these few minutes of really...
Roland, you were our first president, and if we were to say to you today, we want you to take over as president again, what would be the first thing you'd do?
First thing, first of all, that I would do is not to accept. Knowing what we have to go through. No, but I should add to this, by the way, that when you were asking what's your proudest moment as far as being president, it's right here, right in front of us. That is my proudest moment, by seeing all these people that I didn't have the opportunity to see or to meet, or ultimately to be with you, to know you, to have the same things that we can share among each other. That's a proud moment. So basically I should thank all of you for being here.
Nice.
Good answer.
But getting back to your question, which, you know, considering my age, what was the question?
Maybe we should move on. BJ, you are our most recent past president, and you're serving on the board as immediate past president, which all of you guys did, of course. So it's not just a 4-year stint as president. You then have the honour of staying on the board as a mentor and somebody carrying over the work that was done during your term. So if you were to become president again, would you do it differently? Would you have done anything differently?
I think I'll have the same answer like he did, but maybe certain things, yeah, you know, small things.
Small things, yeah.
Differently.
That's good. Gentlemen, would there be, if you were to take over today as president, what would you be doing? Fujita-san.
Yes. As I told you, it's most difficulty is language, right? Maybe you can imagine. And if I have a chance to be a president next, Congress and the board meeting should official language is Japanese. Then maybe I could do 100% more nice, you know, the operation. But this is joking, and half is serious. So. And if, you know, next is if I have a chance, I want to invite all the industry, including the diamond dealers and miners, cutters, of course, and the designer and the craftsman, everything, and talk about, you know, so what is the problem. Then we have to find a way to achieve to the marketing or educated or, you know, whatever it is. Then I would like to do that, but no more English.
Yesterday, our good friend Bill Boyajian gave a very good talk about man-made diamonds.
Yeah.
And he used the term, have we lost the love? So, Roland, you're a lover, I know. You have a beautiful wife. And
Don't say that. My wife is back there somewhere. Please. Please. Arigato gozaimasu.
so what do you think about that? Do you think we are losing the love? And how would we bring it back into our industry?
You know, it's very difficult to be able to develop anything in relationship to our product. There's a lot of work that has to go into it. There's a lot of things that we could do, there's no question about it. One of the things that comes to my mind, for example, I thought of this all the way back to 1985, 1986, would be if we could create for our industry a international design contest by country. In essence, if every country in the world, or every country that are members of ICA, and I can go on by saying China, Thailand, France, Germany, whatever. Each country, we would organize it, ICA would organize it, we would organize a jewelry contest in every country. The winners of the jewelry contest of that country then would become the piece that would go into the international jewelry contest. I believe that if we did this, and if we did it properly, and I'm not saying it's an easy task, it would be a very difficult task, I believe that we could get a tremendous amount of publicity. I think that the pieces of jewelry that would win within countries would ultimately wind up in Vogue magazine and virtually every magazines that are for fashion in the world. So that would be one of the things that I could see that could be of further use for our product.
Clement's taking notes, I can see, so that's good. BJ, what is this industry going to look like, do you think, in 20 years' time?
The thing that I think we should all work on is to create a uniform language. That is the main problem right now.
Japanese.
And through the meetings in Tucson that you're aware of, I think we can reach that goal if we keep at it. And like, for example, if we could use the system that was discussed here yesterday, and if all the labs could use that.
The colour system we're talking about?
Yes, color codex. Yeah.
Chris Smith. Yeah.
Chris's, yeah. I'm very confident that that will work for the trade as a whole, because right now we have a big problem. You know, one lab calls it one thing, another lab calls it another, and a customer wants a third language. You know, it's a complicated thing, and they ask for. They used to be like 1/3, now 2, 3. I've even had 4. They request 4 certs to be sure.
And I'm sure, gentlemen, and Ellie, I know you've been big on this as well, but throughout all of your terms, this very issue that BJ is raising has has prevailed right through the last 35 years of your presidency. And it's still there today. So Ellie, what would you do to try and rectify this problem?
I tell you, if it was in my hands, I would probably do. You didn't ask me what I would do if I'd be elected again. I told you at that time I would love to be younger. Then I can take it. That's a different story. And also, this is a minute to remind one of our former founders is Mr. Durlavji, which is not here with us anymore, but he was very, very important in creating this association. What I would like to do in the next 20 years, it's about the same, but even more critical. We had the ICA formed a group called GILC, which is very important. It's maybe not as active as it used to be in the past, but the idea of this was to form a common language between the laboratories or between the gemologists, the trade, and the jewelers. And this is something which will never finish and will never be finished, because every time there are new things to come, we have to create a better language. And we'd see even here in this Congress ideas how to change names and so forth, but of course the idea is in a pregnancy system, not yet out. And it is difficult to term, particularly now that the language between us is not anymore so much by talking, but it's more virtual. And the life is going to be more and more virtual in the future, and we are going to talk less and less one with the other, but through the computers or through the mobile and through the other system. And we have to develop a good language to speak at that way. This is what, in 20 years from now, maybe the Congress will be virtual. I don't know. I don't want to profit, but it's difficult to predict.
So Fujita-san, we had the beryllium issue in Japan, maybe even during your term as presidency. So the role of laboratories, obviously we need them to be one step ahead of the treatments, I guess. But what did we learn out of that experience in Japan?
What is it?
What did we learn from that time in Japan with the beryllium treatment before?
It's kind of hard question.
This is my term,
Yeah.
not his term.
And Paolo,
I'll tell you.
how do you think we? Yep.
That was during his term.
I'll tell you about the
Oh, was it?
beryllium. It was my term, and I can tell
Okay.
you it was one of the most difficult things we had. For 2 years, maybe, nobody knew what it is. The laboratories didn't find it exactly, and so forth. And it was in the Congress, in a show time in Hong Kong, that we invited from Thailand all the people that used to hit. And Joe Menzies was the vice president at that time. We clocked ourselves in a hotel, and we decided that we will not open the door of this until there will be smoke in the hotel, a white smoke, to be sure. And that time, they agreed to declare that this is a special heating, and they change the prices and compensate some people that lost. Unfortunately, I must remind that the chief gemologist of Japan, which we loved very much, Junko Shida, died later. Who knows what? She was so sorry about what happened. And this was one of the tragedies of our trade, this story. But we learned from this, we have to declare. We have to know the truth all the time.
Paolo, Gem Laboratories, what do you think? How do you think we should go forward?
You see, when we started the ACA, I remember that we had so many discussions about E, no E, N, the entire alphabet, how to define the various treatments and enhancements. So that also led us to few internal, I would say, fights, probably is the correct wording. Now, after so many years, we are still here talking about how to define treatment and find a common language. We were close by to find the common languages, and then the labs themselves decided to once again put a little bit of wording here and there, so that now again we are not in the same mess, because things are much more clear than before. But then we depend on what the lab is saying. And this is, on the hand, is very good. On the other hand, for the merchants, is again an extra complication. But we'll see. I mean, the presentation of Mr. Smith yesterday evening was something very interesting for us. I don't know how practical it will be for the traders. Probably while talking between themselves, I mean the labs, they can agree easily on this. And you see, this story of the common language brings me back to Mr. Fujita, when in, I don't know where, forget it, the United Nations, I still have the logo, when we started in Tucson long ago. So you see, ICA has always been trying to find a common language, because among ourselves here in this room and among the dealers, we have a common language that is not only the dollar bill. We understand each other when we talk to each other, and those that are familiar, I mean, I believe that each one of us, when he's talking to his friend, supplier, and customers, the language that he's using is very clear. This is the thing. So, hopefully we will find a better way of communicating, but so far...
Fujita?
Yes. Sorry, my concept was, no matter where we are going or customers going, should get the same answer. But that time is my presidency, as Paolo mentioned, it's quite a messy. This is a natural or enhancement and treatment. And we have to have a same, the words. Then I set up the United Nations of Gem and Jewelry Industry. There, invite to the laboratory people and ICA members get together and talk to the program and make a one solution, one word. Then it's no matter where we are going, we gave the customers to the same answer. This is our how to alive. Otherwise, we lost the confidence or reliable. This is how I did it. Then that is only one small seed. But that seed is get a good relationship and harmonizing with the laboratory people and ICA members. That's
Paolo.
Well, now we have a chance. Once again, I was thinking about a few days ago. We have an ICA lab. So if we are capable to use the ICA lab as members, we can let the ICA gemstones certified by ICA go around the world with that language, that it will be our language. I mean, we cannot interfere, of course, with the job of McCann or Mr. Dittmarsvath, but this is something that we can use and make it a better understanding for everybody. At least it's a better understanding for the ICA members. I think this is worthwhile to try.
Roland,
I have a quick point regarding this issue. I believe that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. If we look at a stone, we shouldn't make a stone more valuable because it looks like a pigeon blood, and God knows when the pigeon died or didn't die, because we don't know. We shouldn't have to be concerned about a royal blue, because people like different colors. There are people who like darker sapphires, and some people like lesser dark. Some people like orangey colored rubies, and some people like more brownish on the side of the brown. It is, in my opinion, a problem that we're making stones more valuable by calling them by special names. We should look at the beauty of the stone and let the customer decide if they like the stone, no matter what the color is.
BJ, how do we get this common language? Thank you. How do we get this common language in use? Is that the role ICA should take on and try and encourage this common language through the labs?
We can try. It's going to be very difficult because some of the labs, I cannot name names, they use that for their bottom line.
Yeah.
And I know some, again, I don't want to mention countries. In certain countries, certain areas, they buy the cert. They don't buy the stone. If it says certain things, they will buy it regardless. I have seen very, very brown sapphires called pigeon blood ruby, and they will buy it. So I really don't know how we can do anything other than maybe try to use Chris's system. So instead of naming names, we give it a code like he was mentioning yesterday, and that is how you trade. I don't know if we can ever achieve that, but I think that's an ideal solution.
We're getting requests from the floor, actually, some questions. One of the questions, and we might close on this because our allotted time is up, we could spend all day, but in a very brief way, just a point or two, how should we go forward in promoting coloured gemstones? Paolo?
It's a good question, because I think that we, as I just said, promoting gemstones as whole, I think is very complicated, and it may need amounts that we will not be able to put together. as an association. So the thing that using the ICL lab as a weapon to have in our hands goods that are coming from the ICM members, I repeat myself, can be a good thing. Promoting gemstones as whole is quite complicated. And now, but we have to be careful and prompt to face what may arise. Because, you know, what Bill was saying yesterday is of course true. Diamonds, due to the fact that they are using the synthetic, they are probably losing a little bit of their appeal. We have been, after the diamonds, trying to make color stones a commodity, while the diamonds were a commodity in the past, and color stones were the gems. We were trying to reverse the thing, and the diamond has become the gem, and color stone the commodity, back to the diamond. So now, will the world of the synthetic, because this is the question to me, will the world of the synthetic producers try to surf the wave of the synthetic, or since probably it's not yet convenient producing so much of synthetic, they will stay on their own, and then we must promote our products, because the natural, more or less, in spite of the treatments and so on and so forth. So, and that is the question to me nowadays.
Fujita, in a few
Yes,
words, your main way of promoting coloured gemstones.
Same question. Same question.
Same question.
Okay.
Yep.
So most of the association people in our industry say the promotion. But what is a promotion? Spending money one day when the TV is gone, nothing. So I want to in Japan is not successful, but we set up a jewelry day. So we use brain and nice the time. And all over the world, okay, this is a jewelry day, or I don't know the name, is Color Stones Day or whatever it is. This is a way not to spending much money at once. It's promotion using a magazine or TV. Just a few minutes or a few days spending money. Okay, continuous, if we can do a continuous spending of money is okay, but not so many, some money. So all I can do is free, setting a jewelry day or whatever we call it, and announce to all over the world. Maybe it takes a time, 10 or 20 years. But that day, we're going to do a good promotion.
Very good. And that actually fits very closely with thank you, Lorna. Our good friend Joe Menzies, who couldn't be here for health reasons, has been suggesting to many of our colleagues a life cycle commemoration kind of way of celebrating different events in people's life cycles for coloured gemstones. Roland, I know you've seen a bit of that maybe from
Well,
Joe.
I've stated my point of view regarding an idea, and we talked about this international jewelry competition, which I think would... But I have a better one that I should bring to your attention. This is something that I've said from the very get-go, when we first started the association. Why buy her a diamond? She will not live forever. Buy her a colored stone, add more color to her life.
Well done. So we're going to finish up with Ellie and BJ, just with promotion. If you have one kind of thought bubble for us that we could end this on.
I'll tell you, ICA should You know, of course, to increase the demand for color stone, it's a big marketing system.
Yeah, yeah, we're talking about it now, yeah.
It's a big marketing system. And of course, ICA, what we are doing is between us mostly, not for the general public. We don't reach the general public. It's a big investment. Joe Menzi wrote a report how to do it because it's a big imagination. Yeah, I'm following what he said. Add sentences that will break. You know, I heard it from AGTA. They said, add color to your life, add color to your wife. That's a thing that will work into the ears of people.
Yes.
So, something like this. But this is, we cannot, it's not in our hands so much. So the answer is not here. The answer is, in general, the dealers and everybody there to make the advice. We have to encourage people to advertise.
BJ?
Marry her with a diamond and divorce with a ruby and get freedom.
Why don't you share that with us, Paolo? Do you want to share that with us?
No, it's a joke. Okay,
He doesn't want. Go ahead.
marry her by the diamond and divorce with a ruby, and you will get freedom.
Okay.
BJ?
I think
What about the sapphire?
each country, if capable or feasible for them, need to do their own. Like in the U.S., we have AGTA. We do whatever we can through AGTA. I know some countries won't have the possibility, but I think that's the best way to, because we cannot do worldwide everything. Impossible. So it's not an easy task, but we can only try.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Please give them all a round of applause.
If I could just ask you to please stay on the stage.
Okay, I follow you.
Huh?
I follow you.
Yeah, okay. That way.
Which way?
Everybody bless you.
Thank you.
Accept the blessing.
Okay, power.
Ron?
All right. Thank you. We follow you.
If I can please ask you to stay on stage.
Your humor is
Gentlemen.
great.
Now, could I ask Kun Sanpal to join us on the stage as well, please? We have some tokens of our appreciation that I'd like to be handed out.
That was a tricky answer.
If we can do it, again, if we can do it sort of separately.
You're a big daddy anyway.
Some more? I can't believe it.
Great, thank you very much. Now, could I please ask, if gentlemen, if you could all move this way, because I want to then be able to, you can each have a photo op with Kun Sanpal giving you the token of our appreciation. So, Sanpal, if you could go over there. If, first of all, for Mr. Damien Cody, please, if you could... Lovely, thank you very much. And then next, please, Benjamin Hackman. And then next we'll have Roland Naftel, please. Sorry. And then next, please, Ellie Israel, please. Thank you, Ellie. It's the other way around. Sorry, too late now. And then Sadaharu Fujita, please. And then, last but not least, we have Paolo Valentini, please. And then, if I could just have one more photo call with all of you with your presentations together. Yeah, please. Yeah, lovely. To get all these big beasts on the stage together for one shot is excellent. Now, wonderful. Thank you very much. It's now time for a coffee. We're actually doing quite well time-wise. I'll be calling you back in probably at 20 past 11. 20 past 11. So enjoy your coffee. Thank you very much.